being asked like if their likenesses can be used for art stuff. And I'm like, have we not gone over how most of this stuff is trained and why it's not good? I mean, I have my soapbox, and I'm all I'm all about, like, ethically trained tools. And if you can't prove to me that it's ethically trained, please don't put stuff into it. But
the argument being made by them is, oh, the small creators just can't afford, to buy art. So, it's okay. It should be around for them, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to step on the small guy. And I'm like, no. I'm trying to defend the rights and creative property of everyone. Mm-hmm. If you can't afford to buy art for your project, I'm very sorry for that. But that's not an ethical thing to do.
No, it's if you can't afford to buy a book, please go to a library. Go, and there are plenty of authors who put their work out there for free. And it's just straight up disrespectful. And I get the whole, I can't, and I mean, with audio stuff, I can't afford a narrator. I understand. One, I'm happy to help you figure out how to fund it. It's going to take some work, though. And two, there are plenty of people who, if you say, oh, it's an AI voice, you've lost them. You've lost them completely.
And probably forever.
Yeah, and do you want that to be your first step?
I made a comment to the actual game company owners, because the AI stuff wasn't being put in their products. It was being put in a program they authorized for other people to write products that fit into their universe. Third-party stuff.
Okay.
So it's not them directly doing it. It's just that they haven't forbidden it. And I went ahead and I said, guys, is this the kind of thing you want to stick to you? Because how long is it going to be before this blows up in your face? Is that really what you want to happen to your brand, to have it tainted by something like this?
Yeah. Do you want to have a reputation of not siding with indies and content creators who are coming in at the ground level?
I really think that the guy that his only argument was it hasn't been rendered legally illegal in a court of law, so it's okay, is a real winning argument on his part. I was like, if that's the strongest you got, buddy.
Just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's always moral.
And I pointed that. I made the comment that, well, apartheid was legal in South Africa. Would you say that makes it okay?
I mean,
leave it to me to set the world on fire.
On that happy note, howdy, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Paul E. Cooley. Joining me, Veronica Jaguar and Terry Mixon. How the hell are you people?
I'm riled up. Riled up!
Chat's like, what's going on here? It's already AI. It's the pre-show AI, and that's going to be the whole episode. Are we really getting that bad, V?
I think everybody knows where we stand on this particular issue.
Do they?
Well, whether they agree with us.
Sometimes I feel like I have to re-educate people. Like, really? Am I not
please, let's not get into that, Xander.
Anyway.
So, Tim asked for context. On a message board for Mongoose Traveler, they have a third-party thing where they allow people to publish stuff on their own that fits under an umbrella giving them permission to do so. And they do not forbid AI, and somebody posted a product that has AI art in it. And that started a big old conference about whether that was okay or not okay. And needless to say, it's been a fairly acrimonious thread since it opened up yesterday. Pretty acrimonious. And I haven't been helpful.
Your mama wears combat boots.
People have been called narcissists and morally bankrupt and all kinds. I'm the one that called somebody morally bankrupt. So, yeah, I'm part of that. But I didn't call him a narcissist. I let somebody else do that.
Oh, like Wizards open game license thing, Sanders says.
Sort of like, it is exactly like that. So somebody can write something that fits under the umbrella. So it's not the company that's doing it, but I think the company shouldn't let something that's going to, splash back on them in some future point be okay. I think they should take a stand, but that's their call to make. It's not like I'm calling for a boycott or anything. I'm just saying, do you really think that's the best call?
Yeah. Unintended consequences, that pretty much describes the whole quote-unquote AI industry at this point.
It describes a lot of things at this point.
Yeah. Well, besides hating on AI, V, what have you been up to?
Been recording. I've been writing. Mostly with other people, but I think I had one of my better, pacing evenings. In about 90 minutes, I got 1,500 words down. So that was nice, getting characters into trouble. Yeah, I should finish my current audiobook project tomorrow, I think. And then start a new one next week. And there should be a couple more coming down the pike. And I pretty much was outside gardening and doing landscaping all morning.
Wait a minute. You're doing gardening and landscaping? It's almost hurricane season. It's all going to be wiped away like it never existed.
I got 3 months. I got 3 months to enjoy that nice red mulch that is around my hibiscus bushes. Thank you very much.
Terry, tell me you live on the coast without telling me you live on the coast to come up with that one.
No, I totally hear that, because that's usually every argument I use to talk myself out of putting up anything nice in the backyard. But I figured since I started early with garden last week, nothing sprouted. I'm really peeved about that too. But I figure I'll have at least 3, and usually stuff doesn't hit. Pardon while I knock on my desk. Usually stuff doesn't hit until July, August. So I should have at least 5 months of nice, pretty things until everything else goes to shit. I'll take it. Life's short. What about you, Terry, aside from being the fly in the message board ointment?
Well, wait a second. Before I get to that, I just noticed that our biggest fan of AI content has arrived in chat. Welcome, J.R. Handley.
Are we starting kicking people's shins, really? You brought the show to a halt just to do that?
I think we're beyond shin kicking at this point. I mean, right now Terry's tweaking noses and pulling hair, and I mean, this is beyond just a little right below the kneecaps.
He hasn't caught up yet.
Well, in any case, the home renovations continue. The downstairs bathroom is complete with the exception of towel racks and knobs and pulls on the cabinet, and putting in the transition between the floor inside the bathroom and the floor outside. So it is pretty much done. All the functional pieces work, and I was able to take a shower at home for the first time in 6 weeks just yesterday, so yay for that.
Awesome.
The upstairs bathroom has been completely torn out, and the electrician will be in Monday to start working on the stuff there. The things they found behind the wall that were completely against code were just exciting. The GFI plug that was sitting next to the sink, it turns out that it wasn't actually connected to the original house wiring inside a box. They just wire nutted it behind the wall and put up fresh sheetrock. And the contractor's comment to me was, "That's illegal as fuck." I was like, Well, yeah, I'm kind of not surprised to hear that.
Oh my God.
He found part of the drain going from the sink that the guy had, instead of fitting it to the old cast iron setup that was in there, he went ahead and took PVC and stuck it in there and filled foam around it until it filled it up, rather than making an actual connection.
Dude, I know you're in Texas, but damn.
Well, we bought this house from a guy 25 years ago, and we have been dealing with his handyman fixes for decades. And I expect that until the day I die, I will still be dealing with his handyman fixes.
You're still going to be fine. I'm surprised you haven't found like a coyote in the wall yet or something.
Nothing yet. I should go ahead and like take one of those Halloween skeletons and put behind the wall and then have them seal it up so that whoever does the next remodel goes, "Ah!"
Serve them right, yeah.
But have you actually gotten any writing done?
One sentence. I swear to God, one sentence. I came up here to write something, wrote one sentence, and then chaos and mayhem broke loose, and I didn't get to finish that. But I've written the first sentence of book 2 in the new series.
Yay!
On a downside note, I'm going to be serving on a jury in federal court April 10th ish.
Oh my!
So unknown whether this book will be completed by then, but who knows how these federal cases go? I might be there for a month. I might be there for a day. Who knows?
Depending upon what it's for, jury selection itself may take a couple of days. I know I once was summoned to sit on a jury for a federal case in Mississippi, and jury selection literally took the entire week because it was a double homicide with some other flavorful things thrown in. And I wound up getting excused because of certain beliefs I hold. Just, I would not have been able to sit on the jury for this one. And I feel good that I didn't, because the guy escaped 3 years later. And I don't think they found him. Oh, and he was in the room while they were doing jury selection.
That's some bullshit right there.
So, yeah.
Hey, Roddy says it should be the Diddy case. You know, for that one, I think it's not going to be the Diddy case, but I would take that one. You know, I'm like, okay, I could write a memoir about a story about the Diddy case. I'm a writer. I could make this happen.
Oh, Jesus Christ! There are some places you shouldn't go. That would be 3 of them.
But I have no idea what's going to go on with the jury selection. But I'm going to be very clear to them that I'm one of those people that I'm going to sit there and I'm going to listen to the facts, and I'm not going to be railroaded by emotion in this. Wherever the facts lead me, that's where I'm going to stand. And if everybody doesn't agree with me, that's too bad for them. I'll stay there as long as I need to.
Prosecution moves to strike. Defense moves to strike. Get the fuck out.
It may get me tossed off the jury, but hey, I'm going to be honest. This is how I roll.
Good for you. Good for you. One sentence.
One sentence.
I can't remember where I was with Kill Shelter last week. I guess I hadn't finished it yet.
No, but you were like rolling into it.
Yeah. So I finished Kill Shelter. I can't remember what day that was. Monday, I guess, or Sunday morning, maybe. Anyway, that book took me 2 weeks to write once I started.
Well, shit.
Weighed in at 46K. Not exactly my longest work. And it's already gone through 2 passes by me and is in the hands of beta readers right now. The first of whom was just tore it apart, read it really, really fast, because it just once it gets going, it just goes. So I'm very, very pleased thus far. We'll see how the other beta comments come in, but I actually want to narrate this one. I think this would be fun to narrate, especially creating the sound effects for the intro and outro, would just be a blast. So there's stuff that I really want to do with this if it gets accepted. I still don't have a green light for writing it.
Oh well, just dangle it. Look what we got here.
Yeah,
Look
pretty
what you want.
much. I'm
So,
only 4 months ahead of schedule.
so how many books have you completed this calendar year then?
This calendar year,
Yeah.
that's the only one apart from finishing Extinction, I think.
And within the past 6 months?
Oh boy. I don't know, 4. I've got 4 sitting in the can waiting for, or 5 now. 5 now waiting in the can for a publisher to say yay or nay, and for cover art to get done, or Pondy to do the cover art and layout for the black stuff. So I got quite a few in the can. It was suggested to me we talk about how much is too much in the can, but we're not quite there to that conversation yet. So I'm excited. Had a good time doing that. Didn't know what to do with myself yesterday while Dad was in therapy. So while he was learning how to breathe better, I opened up Signal Decay and started back on it. I haven't done much other than reread it and try and figure out where I was. And no AI and sound effects, buddy. Don't do that shit. Anyway, it was fun to dive back in, and I remember exactly where I was and looked at the length and went, you know what? Let's take a side journey. Let's take a side quest here. So I'm going to kick it off with more action and see if I can get another 10,000, 15,000 words before I get them where I need them to go. So I'm kind of excited to get back into that. I just need to do it, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I assumed it was. So I'm kind of pleased to be back to it. I know I'll get interrupted, but what am I going to do? I got something.
Right.
I got to do something while I think of the next creature feature I want to do.
Running
Whatever
out
that
of creatures,
is.
man.
I know. I need another shot at it.
You have to start tackling like cute and cuddly ones that have gone rabid, like wombats.
You're assuming in the can does not mean the toilet like it does in the UK. It can mean that, but it's a reference to putting a finished film into one of the film cans and then taking it to the theater. That's the context of the original saying. At least that's how I always understood it. That's why it's in the can. A reference to film and audio, yeah. Where's the line between creature and monster? Wow, there's a semantics argument from hell. You know what I would actually put that as? A monster has potential for sentience, a creature does not.
So a creature is simply acting on
Instinct.
whereas a monster has
agency. It's not just there to eat you, it's got other things it's doing.
Right.
And you're right, James. A creature isn't necessarily evil. That is correct. About a killer rabbit jackalope. Didn't somebody do that already?
I think so.
Alan Baxter wrote The Roo. It is one of the funniest, scariest things I have read. It's all about rural Australia and how awful everything is. But it's about a demonically infested kangaroo just killing the shit out of everybody. It's awesome. I would highly recommend it.
I honestly don't know why you're jumping around searching for things when you've already had the answer placed right in your lap. Jellygator NATO.
No, I'm not writing Jellygator freaking NATO. There's a recent movie about a zombie kangaroo. Why am I not shocked? Well, we're not really here to talk about that, but we kind of are.
Are we?
Yeah,
Really?
There's this
That's where we're going?
thing. There's this nasty thing that Terry and I try and shy away from, which is this horrible R word called reality.
I don't like it.
We don't deal with that kind of nonsense here.
Why do you think I'm forced to deal with it? I don't want to. Bold of you to assume that I'm here of my own volition. I'm just stuck in it like everybody else.
So why not use the creatures they found at Chernobyl, mutant animals? Reality is fake news. Let's please not get into that.
Yeah, we're not playing solipsism here.
Terry and I write a lot of science fiction. I write a lot of near future stuff. I've very rarely written in this time frame, whatever this time frame has to be, because I'm always prognosticating something or changing something that I want changed. For the sake of the story and for it to be believable, there's got to be kind of a switch here and there about how this would work. So, there is reality, which is an oil rig can't tow itself, and then there's near future where it can. Not enough basically to tell you that you're in the near future, that this is a thing, or that the author is a lunatic. Isn't all of the black in the current time. It's all near future. It's been that way from the very beginning. So to further differentiate it, I talk about it in an Iranian-Iraqi civil war. No such thing, but I talk about it. So people either didn't get it and thought I was a dumbass talking about Gulf War II, or they got it that this was not in the original, not now. When those
there seemed like a slightly alternate.
Yeah, slightly alternate in some places. And that'll become more apparent to a certain degree in Extinction, but it's always been there. So when reality didn't serve what I wanted to do, I changed reality. And that worked for good or ill. There were some people who thought I was serious about an oil rig towing itself and gave me all sorts of shit on YouTube and podcasts about it. But they didn't get it. So that's okay. It's because they were knowledge experts on rigs and were kind of like, this is not how anything works. So it is what it is. So we bent reality there. But then there's other places you can bend. Like, for instance, a certain disaster never occurred. So what if 9/11 didn't happen? You know, where would things be now? Or if people had made different choices after it happened.
Right.
So those are choices that you kind of have to make depending on what your story is. And there are things that you should be okay to do, in my humble estimation. But if you set your backdrop as 9/11, you better know everything there is to know about 9/11. As far as what people were doing, what was happening and going on and everything else, or you're really going to get called out for it. So placing it, we've lost Terry. Placing it against something real means you have to make that, in my mind, you have to make a decision that, you have to make the decision as to whether or not you're going to deal with reality the way it is and deal with the consequences. And if that's what you're doing, perfect. That's wonderful. But you don't have to do it if you're doing science fiction or alternate history or anything like that. There's a lot of good books written out like that.
This is my camera issue.
It's very fuzzy.
Isn't there ways you can get it to go from there? Yes, there was an Iran-Iraq war in the 80s. It was not a civil war. It was an Iran war. What I talk about is all Shiites versus all Sunnis. So it was a little bit different. Terry, you don't place anything in reality.
That's totally not true.
Totally
I have
not
written
true
stuff.
how?
I have written things that were in modern day, or close to modern day.
Yeah, you've Humanity Unlimited started as a near future.
It started in the very near future. The post-apocalyptic story that I wrote was very near future. So yeah,
okay.
I sure have.
But not in like 40 books now.
Not for a long time.
Do you find that freeing?
Yes. I am not chained down by not knowing a fact harming me. Oh gosh, I didn't know this thing. Oops. No. How does this thing work? It works the way I says it does. That's how it works.
I find that freeing too, because you have a chance to really stretch a few things. And one thing I realized while I was writing Kill Shelter is it takes place in 1982 in Antarctica. I don't remember or even can find the information of what these people wore. So I don't describe it.
Shorts and flip-flops?
For winter, no.
Probably not.
And then depending on what was going on, the temperature vacillates anywhere between, negative 40 on a good day during the winter to negative 100.
Right.
Wind chill factor, 1 billion.
Yeah.
Negative 1 billion.
Yeah. So it's basically kind of fun to figure out what you don't need to include versus what you do need to include. And I was very sparse with because that way, like Terry just said, nobody could take you to task if you didn't say it.
Right. And then I've been on the other side of that because with some of the collab projects, it's caused with some authors wanting to be super specific and then having to go back and kind of figure things out. Secret World Chronicle is a alternate history present day. And when I say present day, it's early 2000s. And one of the challenges that I faced just immediately starting into it, figuring out where to go, is that they state that the big invasion event happened on the day of the All-Star game. They mean the All-Star basketball game. And again, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, when does that actually happen? Well,
depends on what year it is.
Exactly. One, it depends upon what year, because sometimes it's in February and sometimes it's closer to, late spring, early summer. And that made a difference when people were describing what was going on in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And it was very much of a, wait, this doesn't make sense. Because then as you're going, they're like little timeline discrepancies. And for the majority of readers, it doesn't make a difference. But when you're trying to plan stuff out, actually take that back. It had to, when we set it up, it had to have been in February because the Ides of March, happy Ides of March, everyone, were a significant event in that first book. And so it had to happen in February because Ides of March came after that, and there wasn't that much of a stretch. But being that specific with certain things caused problems later on.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the things, if you're writing in present time, you don't talk about the news. You don't talk about, television stations, or you make up certain things. It's the same thing if you don't normally see people in television shows watching the news or reading the newspaper because it creates another constraint that your audience then has to deal with. And it's writing in the past is helpful. I think right now, I think it's easier writing in 1992 than it is trying to write in the current time because one, I don't have to deal with cell phones.
I didn't have to deal with cell phones either.
Which is great. And I don't have to deal with, and if I'm dealing with any pop culture, we're literally making stuff up to suit our needs. I mean, we're referencing common staples because it's set in Toronto. So we're going to reference the Maple Leafs. Yes, we're going to reference certain establishments, but we're changing the names to suit our purposes. And there's no Tim Hortons coffee. We're using our own because we have our own Tim Hortons standalone. So why wouldn't we?
Chat, behave.
So JR is saying that TV from the 90s, they were watching ZNN. He is pulling that straight from, what show was that? NCIS. NCIS is where they broke the ZNN is what they used. Mm-hmm. And it's good. It's a good idea.
I see ZNN and I think Zombie News Network.
Okay, I thought we were getting away from reality.
Can't help it.
Yeah. I mean,
Can't help it.
And in some shows where there is a constant connection with news and current events, like your police procedurals, your shows like The Rookie, 911, LAPD, like NCIS, those kinds of things, then they're going to have some tie to who's reporting on them, where the news is going, because they are responding to current events, and the writers of those shows are often writing events. They're writing similes of events that have happened within the past 6 months. And so, yeah, they're going to talk about how an event was covered. They're going to talk about media personalities and how they reacted and interacted, because that's part of that world and how it goes.
James says, counter argument, characters reading in the news can help inform the reader what the world is currently like. Yes, but it's not based in reality then. You're prognosticating. You're already no longer in reality. The moment you change something and write that's going forward, you are in essence changing reality by the way it's situated. So even if unless you're writing something that's extremely tied to current events of a certain time, then you're going to have some issues there. So I think it can be used as a plot device. It can be used as a way to inform characters. Certainly, it's the messenger from the nearby kingdom, right? It's basically a device that you can use to talk about events that may affect your characters, but your characters are not involved in. It's a pretty easy way to do it, and it just depends on what you're writing. For me, I try and stay away from that kind of stuff, and I'll talk about generalities.
Somebody was talking about military things, and when you're writing in the past, there are a lot of interesting stories that are true life military things that you would go, did that really happen? Did that really happen? One of them was a story. Both of these stories are World War II stories. In one of them, a pair of crewmen were sent to scrape and repaint the hull and were not happy about it. So they wrote "for sale" on the side of their destroyer. And nobody knew that they had done so until somebody was riding escort around them and sent them a message with the flasher saying, "How much?"
I mean,
did it happen, or is it apocryphal?
It is not apocryphal. It happened. There are pictures. There are pictures of this. And the other story was, I can't remember which battleship it was, but they were doing offshore support for an amphibious landing, and somebody on the shore actually got a shot out and hit the battleship, which annoyed said battleship, and it turned its main guns and fired back. And one of the destroyers went, "Temper, temper."
Oh, wow. Wow. I got nothing on that one.
Temper, temper.
Jesus Christ. So if you're going to place it in today's world in reality, or yesterday's world in reality, those are kind of some things you need to keep in mind. Less is more, unless there's a very, very compelling reason for it not to be. I mean, obviously, if you're writing about the assassination of JFK, you need to be aware of what was going on at that time. JR says it was the USS Wisconsin. Sorry, I'm a Navy brat and live in a Navy area. Oh, Audie Murphy grew up in a town in Texas where you lived for 20 years. Huh. I remember the tale of Audie Murphy, and yeah, you're right. It's ridiculous. What else you got about reality, apart from the fact it sucks?
Darn it, took it from me.
What you got there? You're reading something, V. What you got?
I was looking at the Wikipedia entry for the USS Wisconsin. What? Of course I'm going to do it. because
Navy
and part.
nerd.
I'm sorry. I got my bachelor's degree because I read way too much damn Tom Clancy. So yeah, I am gonna go read it, and I am gonna enjoy it.
Navy nerd, Navy nerd, Navy nerd.
I'm the daughter of two journalists. I'm sorry. I was an anomaly, and I'm still an anomaly. But
There you go, V.
First
First
and
and
only
only.
direct hit.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't World War II, it was Korean War for this one. Okay.
Well, wait.
At least according to the dates there, 1952, that's definitely not World War II.
No, but it was late. So according to the Wikipedia entry, the keel was laid for the first USS Wisconsin. In January 41. It was launched in 43, commissioned 44, decommissioned in 48. Then it was recommissioned. So probably then that's probably the same ship. Would it have been the same ship? Because then it says it was recommissioned in October 88. And I'm sorry, 30 years seems like a long time. And 30 years, I'm not sure. That would take a whole
The ship
lot
of
of retrofit.
Theseus. Is this really the same ship?
No,
They
I
rebuilt
mean,
everything. Is it really the same ship?
I mean, I knew that when I was working on the Ticonderoga class of cruisers and destroyers, mostly cruisers, but they like ship retrofits. Oh, wild! That must have had a hell of a retrofit then to go for 30 years with all
tell
this.
you how desperate they were.
Well, I mean, for all the just to get retrofitted for technology is wild. When I was a naval architect, it was in like 2000, 2001, and the two big things that were happening on the class of ships that I was working on was, one, they were going to male and female quarters. So that was a whole bunch of stuff. And then, oh dear, I am not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
I'm not touching it with a 10-meter cattle prod either.
Nope. But the other thing is that was when all of the screens were going to flat screens rather than cathode ray. And so amazing, because you're putting in a replacement that has less space, but it also has less weight. And so you had centers of gravity moving all over the place. And ships are generally recalibrated every 5 to 10 years. So incline experiments. So if anybody in the chat is or was part of the Navy, and you ever had engineers come on and y'all had to stay in your quarters or stay wherever you were assigned while some crane moved 9,000-pound weights out on the helo deck or out wherever, and then some idiot like me literally sat in the corridor watching water move up and down a tube. It's so we could figure out how much your ship weighed. And that was after a week of surveying and running around and itemizing everything in the galley and everything in storage and everything in engineering, and figuring out the centers of gravity by measuring from bulkheads with measuring. Yeah, that was in 2000. Military is not high tech, people. Nope. High tech is reserved for other things. That most certainly was not. And most of the weight happens because y'all paint everything. That's really
damn
it.
it, J.R. Hanley just choked on my drink. I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that either. Speaking of unhinged from reality, there you go.
I mean,
Ship 2012.
Hey, that's the movie that set sail a 16-book series. What can I say?
That's terrifying. That is terrifying.
okay, I was trying to figure out what that little like meowing was. I'm thinking, did a cat get in here? It's during the day. I'm generally abandoned. And it's probably on Terry's side.
No.
What?
Nope.
Are you hung up?
Rogue
With
is
Rogue?
snoring. That's Rogue snoring.
That's adorable. Okay, I'll stop.
It's bad. It's
That's
really
great.
bad.
That's
It's so
awesome.
loud. It's so loud. You better not do that shit while I'm trying to record.
It sounds like a little horn.
He was tired, Daddy. Just let him sleep.
He's got a deviated septum. He needs surgery or something.
No, he's perfect.
He needs brain surgery. So these are reasons why I don't like reality. You got to know these things. Are you really cutting your nose hairs?
Hey, when they stick straight up and bug me, you bet I am.
Recorded for posterity on the internet.
Tim asks, what do y'all think of the current issues some people talk about with shared reality as a concept? Does that affect how you write near reality kinds of stories? Shared reality?
Shared reality is a spectrum because if you look at things, it's like the bell curve. Most people share the same reality, but when you get out to the edges, people's reality is not the same as everyone else. We've all met someone whose shared reality was a little bit different than the rest of us.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with it. I'm currently listening to what is it? Heavenly Tyrant. And it talks about a shared reality, but it's more or less a mind meld space that exists.
It's the infinite
for two
echo
people.
chamber.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what else, if there's another example of that.
JR said, isn't that just insanity?
Some people think it's insane, but Sarah Connor was right.
Shared reality, at least in I think in individual psychoses, they don't share the same delusions. If a whole bunch of people start sharing the same delusions, that's when I get out my pen and paper and start taking notes.
There have been instances where people have had
Sure.
shared delusions.
Sure.
Yes.
How many people thought they were Napoleon Bonaparte?
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's been documented incidences of people isolated in a certain area that had an event happen to them, so they say, that nobody else will believe. But they believe it.
It just kind of depends on what you're writing, I think. Shared reality is basically something we were talking during the pre-show. And a cult has a shared reality. It's
Okay,
different from
yes.
everything else that's going on.
Okay. That I understand.
Shared reality had me go into someone with an alien symbiote in them.
Imagine a symbol on my forehead. Indeed.
Oh, God. The hive mind has spoken. Yeah, okay. Yeah, mass hysteria, the Mandela effect, yeah. It's a shared delusion. It's a folie à deux. I think the trick with insanity, and there's a whole book by Thomas Zaz on it that basically questions the definition of insanity, but it's when it becomes a problem for you to function or for others to function around you. And you become a threat to other people. And I think that's when those diagnoses get dropped on, like a shell on folks. So I don't know what I haven't looked at the definition, and I know things have changed in the latest DSMR. I don't know what's in there anymore. So I used to be somewhat interested in this.
If you watch the television show Monk, you'll have a good example of somebody right there at the bleeding edge.
Yeah, at the bleeding edge. It can barely function, but can function, provided certain precepts are met.
Do you know how they did the VHS set for that?
No.
It has each season on a different one, and it's like season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5, season 6. They have one season where they put it at the bottom, unlike all of the others.
Nice. Diagnoses are just a point where someone who hits a point where they can put them in a pigeonhole. Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of
Unfortunately,
diagnoses are not as firm as you might think.
So I was double checking. So according to the DSM-5, which I think is the most current one, so insanity is actually not a diagnosis. Insanity is a legal term.
Okay.
Okay, I agree with that.
So
Not being a lawyer, I had no idea.
yeah, I was like, I don't remember, but so you can, because you could have certain extremes of a variety of conditions that would constitute someone to have to constitute being labeled as legally insane, and that could be, and I'm again, extremes: extreme narcissism, extreme anxiety, extremely manic. It goes way outside of that bell curve, to the point where it's no longer considered workable or functional in current society or by current standards.
There you go, Paul. I posted a picture in live for you.
Oh God.
And yes, James, I did know that. It's a schizophrenia diagnosis is one of those that you have to rule everything else out.
It's a catch-all.
Yeah. And also, fun fact, a lot of the diagnoses around schizophrenia in that same kind of like family of disorders. I don't know a better word than disorder. I'm going back to academia. A lot of them, you can't, the majority of people can't be diagnosed until their mid to late 20s, because your brain literally, it doesn't settle out. There are cases where people can be diagnosed when they're younger, but most of the time it's a late 20s, early 30s thing, which is great learning about that when you're in your mid 20s to mid 30s and going, oh shit, is that it? I'm like, no, you have this other textbook thing. You're fine, relatively. Relatively. So yeah.
Yes, Monk had OCD.
Yeah. Which
Too much reality in this episode. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, background in naval architecture and psychology. We're hitting everything today.
I could talk about fungus and meteorites.
In meteorites?
In meteorites.
Wait, how do you have fungus in meteorites?
I don't know. How's that happen?
You'd have to have fungus surviving outside. And
Space fungus.
Space fungus.
But that would imply that fungus can exist in an anaerobic environment.
That's just correct.
Space shrooms.
I wish I had some. Share that shit. Pass that shit over, man. No, I was reading something about Antarctica and ice studies, and I did not realize this. It never even occurred to me, but they've drilled through several meteorites while they were doing their ice cores.
Okay.
So think about it.
It makes sense, but yeah.
50,000 years ago, something huge, not quite Chicxulub sized, smashes into the Antarctic, and within a couple of thousand years, you can't even tell. Especially
if it was not during an ice age.
Correct. You can't even tell. So it just never occurred to me for some reason that was something that would happen or that they would notice. It just didn't occur to me. But it's very, very interesting.
It is, because then you could literally have something land and not be exposed because it would be buried so deep. Just get it, and at some point you get to, if something crashes in and it's stuck in there in a crater, then you've got everything icing over. I don't think currently you're going to have it thaw to the point where you thaw so hard that you get back to that original piece.
No.
And so you always have layers going on top and on top.
Yeah.
So ideally, Ideally, it could have been the product of something out there saying, "Ooh, we need to get rid of this really bad thing. Let's throw it into the trash pile called Earth and hope it stays."
I'm pretty sure that most alien sightings are galactic Uber Eats, just with a wrong delivery address.
Or considering some of the stuff I've been narrating, it's literally we're just the universe's sex toy shop.
Paul Cooley, the universe's dildo.
I'm not going there, but
Paul Cooley, the universe's butt plug.
The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill is a great little piece of creep show. Highly recommend it. The short story is really good too. I remember there was a short story. I think there was a short story. Didn't that come out of Creep Show itself? Pretty sure it did. Anyway, Colorado Space. If you've never seen that, try and get the Nicolas Cage version, because it's just absolutely a hoot. A hoot. I was very Texan, Paul. Now we know what the alternate means now. Thank you, Terry, for spreading all those lies and conjectures and accusations at me. Yeah. You are a bad monkey.
With
Yeah, so
Paul,
meteorites.
you don't need lube.
You know what I need?
Paul
I need a
is
cat.
ribbed for your pleasure.
This is why we can't have nice things.
he's been
He says,
watching.
"Shut up, Daddy. I was watching the show."
He's been watching back episodes and taking lessons from Julius.
He's
That's all I
being a
can say.
brat. He's being a big brat. Anyway, we talked too much reality and drove Tim off. Now we're on anal probing aliens. Yeah, why isn't it ever about the aliens getting anal probed?
So write it.
No, I'm not interested in writing that.
I mean, I haven't narrated it yet, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. Just
Did Paul intentionally get a black cat?
Nope, it was totally unintentional.
It was the cat distribution network at work, is what I've been told. If you keep going, you'll read Japanese poetry.
I do believe that this is now one of the better inside jokes.
The DRS haiku episode.
That was during After Dark, wasn't it?
It was during After Dark, and
Okay.
we have records in the After Dark channel to prove it.
Thank Christ that was in After Dark. For some reason, I thought I may have done that during the regular show.
Well, you were pretty drunk.
I was not drunk.
Oh my goodness. Clearly it has been a week because we are at this point.
Yeah, we're at this point.
Just because.
It has been a week.
Ain't it?
That's all I'll say about it.
Yep.
Punches himself in the face out of memory.
Thou hast brought this upon thyself, James.
I promise not to read Japanese poetry ever again.
Okay, not gonna snort coffee all over myself.
Oh, JR,
James,
it was epic.
James is just, he's confused. It wasn't Japanese poetry. It was Japanese art with tentacles.
Oh
But
no,
it
the
had
poem was
poetry
much
on
more
it.
disturbing. The poem was much more disturbing.
Was.
Oh, it wasn't performed very well, which made it even funnier. Oh, God. Not enough Marines in space.
I
Well,
would
that's
beg
funny.
to differ.
Since I'm podcasting Neptune Scars right now, which is interesting because it's not available in ebook or any other format than podcast right now. But the folks who came up with on YouTube when I delivered it as an episode every day of the Derelict Saga are like screaming in delight because they get more of it. So that makes me happy.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I think the second. Whose was that?
That was yours.
It was not.
It wasn't
Like
mine.
Okay. I'll blame Terry. No, I know that one. So there's a podcast that I'm narrating for. Just straight. I don't do production. I don't have to do anything else. They give me the words. I read the words. I pass it back. But it's, if you want to hear the spicy stuff, that's where it is. I'll have to put that link in the show note. I'll put it in the live channel because there are 2 episodes up now, and the second episode is the first chapter of one of my favorite titled stories ever: Cage Fighting Nuns and Tanks.
It's just too terrifying for words. That title alone, it just begs to be read.
I mean, I know there aren't any Marines in it. Sorry, JR, but there are tanks.
Space nuns.
Nuns in space.
Nuns in space.
I think Mel Brooks is going to sue somebody.
Sister Mary Catherine to Mother Superior. Sister Mary Catherine to Mother Superior. Over.
Oh my God. This is so bad. This is so
2 points
bad.
up, 1 point to the left, Mother Superior. Fire for effect.
That's when she powered up her glare, right?
And may the Lord have mercy on your soul. Fire. Yes.
Fire the blessed ammunition. Oh.
So that sounds like Warhammer right there.
It kind of does, really.
My catechism was taught by Sister Mary Catherine, actually.
I mean, yeah.
I got nothing.
I had an aunt who was a nun, so yeah.
Is that Catholic Warhammer? It might be.
I'm now having way too many
stay away
thoughts.
from this. I'm just
like,
going to stay away from this one.
Part of me is thinking, like, this could be a whole new, like, Lenten RPG twist, and I'm not sure if I'm here for it or not.
Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, yes.
Yes. Somebody get on
Those
that.
of you trying to kill the killer rabbit.
Big sarcastic energy.
There you go, Paul. I'll have to see if I can find another one here for you.
Oh my.
Uh-oh. The
Oh
live.
my. If you're on Discord looking live, he's posting all sorts of naughty stuff.
Yep.
It's not naughty.
It's naughty. Look at her. Look at her.
I don't think the Vatican approved that getup. Okay, that one's better.
I'm not going to say anything I'm thinking. Just not going to do it. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit here.
I mean, the other thought is, Father bless me, for there is skin. But I mean, you know.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm just terrified.
Yeah. So again, if you choose to include nuns in any of your near future science fiction, near future fantasy, reality, you may want to do some research to get things right. Because some of us who have either been through parochial school or who were traumatized through parochial school will know things. Just like those nuns did. I was never taught by nuns, but some of y'all were.
Some of you are bad children. Well, if you have a comment about today's show or a question, you can find us, on our podcast page, or you can go to deadrobotsociety.com, punch that contact link, and send us an email. Or you can leave a comment on one of our episodes, which you can find at youtube.com/DRS podcast, where we are live every Saturday at 3 p.m. CST. That's the lie we tell. Like and subscribe so you know when we're live. And if you want to support the show, if you want to join our Discord server, you can find the link in the description. We welcome new people all the time, and we have interesting conversations. sometimes. And if you want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRSpodcast and buymeacoffee.com/DRSpodcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive live shows like the one coming up in just about 10 minutes. And at the $10 level, you get your name read. And our $10 patrons are Juan Valentin, James Terrell, Antoine Batts, Tony L. Joy, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, and Tim Niederreiter. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. And with that, I think it's time to get out of here. Thanks for making it fun, chat. We had a good time.
Clearly.
And with that, we're going to say, go write something.
Go do
write
words.
something.
Go do words.